Hello, and welcome to the Get Closer podcast. I'm Jackie Krick, your host, and this show is a way for us to get closer with members of the marketing and business community. Today, my guest is Joshua Campbell, ECU's Marketing Director. Today, we're going to be discussing project management and some of the challenges that come with keeping up projects on track, on budget, and what goes into successfully executing marketing campaigns. Well, hello, Joshua. How are you?
Hi, Jackie. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Terrific.
So, today, we're going to find out a little bit more about you. And just to get started, to kick us off, tell us about yourself.
That sounds good. So my name is Joshua Campbell. I grew up in the Midwest, Nebraska to be exact. I went to school in Chicago, so that was a big difference between growing up in Lincoln, Nebraska. Chicago is the big city. I studied East Asian languages and civilizations, so Chinese was my focus. And from there, I went to Asia. So I actually lived for the majority of my adult life in Greater China, including Taipei, Taiwan, and Shanghai, China. And that's where I met my wife. She's Taiwanese, and both my children are American, but were born overseas in Shanghai and Taipei, Taiwan, respectively. I really enjoy spending time with my kids. They share a lot of the same interests that I have. Love science fiction and fantasy, books and cinema, comic books. They've sort of gotten that from me. And so it's good to have kids that share the same interests.
Tell us about your role here at ECU as a marketing director and your experience.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, as you said, Jackie, I'm a marketing director here at ECU, and that involves a broad variety of knowledge of different aspects of marketing, everything from advertising to public relations to digital marketing to creative work and strategy. So I think fundamentally I would consider myself a strategist. So strategic thinking I think is really important, and that all I think is based on strong research. I was taught early on in my career that 80% of a good strategy comes from that solid research that leads to insights, that leads to that great creative work. And then, of course, being able to measure those results afterwards is really important, too, to make sure that a project and a campaign and our client work was successful. And I think a lot of that comes down to people, too, and the interactions that we have with people, building a rapport, managing the client relationships, and figuring out the different stakeholders involved and making sure that everyone is understanding the scope of the projects and are satisfied at the end of the day with the results that we achieve together.
So are you referring now more in detail as to what it's like to manage a project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I also am a project manager or PM at ECU, and that involves everything from budgets to human resource allocation to meeting deadlines. So timelines are very important in making sure the right people are doing the right things at the right time. And the scope of work, understanding the SOW is really important too, to make sure that ECU is adhering to what's in the contract or what we've agreed to accomplish together, and that we don't go, we always want to go above and beyond, but we also want to stay within those parameters of the scope of work.
To achieve success.
To achieve success,
Perfect,
exactly.
perfect. I love it. So how do you balance the client's needs with your team's capabilities and bandwidth?
It's a great question. I think that having the right people in place is really essential, and having the right teammates. And when you don't have necessarily the right skill set, it might come down to developing your team's skills and working together to try to strengthen one another as a unit, as a team. And if you realize that maybe there are some lapses, some deficiencies in certain capabilities, that you find the right people or outsource possibly to contractors or subcontractors, whether that might be a web designer or a web developer. On certain projects that ECU has had, we've had to do things like that, but we're very strong in terms of our creative work and our strategy and our execution. I'd say those are some things that ECU really excels at.
And so, Joshua, tell us about you talked a little bit about your work in Asia. How does that compare? I know you've worked for some very large PR organizations there. And so how does that relate to working here in America in a communications company that is definitely a small business?
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, there's been a big readjustment that I've had to make moving back to the U.S. several years ago. Some reverse culture shock, so to speak. Even though I still visited my family and my friends back in the U.S., I've had to readjust myself. I think that a lot of the things I learned abroad in marketing and PR and advertising still come across and carry over here in the U.S., but, it has been an adjustment. While I was in China and Asia, I did work for some smaller agencies and mid-sized agencies and larger agencies. So I think I'm able to adapt to different environments, and that some of the skills that I learned abroad still are important and carry over to my work here at ECU.
Terrific. And talking about adaptation, how have you been able to successfully adapt working in various organizations, different types of organizations, to supporting government clients?
Yeah, that's been a challenge because this is my first experience delving into serving government clients. That's definitely for sure. I think that one of the big differences is trying to make sure that government clients become more acclimated and accepting to change and to creative work. Sometimes even some of the clients that we've worked for have not necessarily wanted to use people to humanize their brands in certain cases. So we've had to really work with them closely to get them to be more accepting of these ideas about how they can better build their brand. They might be a government agency, but they still have a brand that has a story to tell. So using people in the marketing, putting a face to the brand, all of that's still important, even with government clients.
I agree. And so would you say that it is challenging to work with government clients, but I think it's also rewarding?
Absolutely.
To have those conversations with the government and clients, and for them to be able to see where the opportunities lie?
It's hugely rewarding. I think being able to see that progress and build trust over time with these different government agencies and help to build their brands, that's immensely rewarding. Absolutely.
I'm talking about rewards and awards, right? Recently, one of your projects won a Gold Hermes Creative Award. Oh, and it's right here.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Yes, we put it here on the table. So tell us about what made that project so great.
I mean, I think there were a lot of moving parts involved.
So let me interrupt you for
Sure.
just 1 second.
Sure.
So this is a project within a contract. So multiple other things happen, right? So this is a piece of the work that was created for this contract that got this award.
Yes.
So tell us about the project, how maybe some of the challenges and some of the things that were updated, reviewed, strategized to make this project so great.
Yeah. So we revamped a government careers website in order to try to make the website more easily navigated, because we realized that there was a lot of information on this original website that people were not able to find the information they were looking for. So we had to redesign the website to make it such that people could find what they were looking for, make it more easily accessible. Because it was a careers website too, we wanted to make sure that it reflected the diversity of America, and that people from underserved, underrepresented groups were able to be attracted to find jobs with this specific government agency, and that was really an important part of the project too. So a lot of moving pieces. Honestly, I'm not necessarily a web design guy, but I was able to help figure out together with the team what the priorities should be, what the parts of the project were that we should prioritize and move forward with, and sort of figure that out, the balance of what was the most important, and work step by step to resolving the client's problems and meeting the challenges, and at the end of the day, revamping this website, which at the end of the day looked very beautiful.
And I would say that it's not only a beautiful site, but it also enabled a more expedient user experience, would you say?
Absolutely. People were able to find what they were looking for more easily, and know what the different types of jobs were, and know that there were people like them that were also looking for those jobs and could be represented in the United States government.
That's right. Well, so congratulations, Joshua.
Thanks.
So here's another question that might be a little bit difficult, or maybe not. And not just because you're talking to me, right? You're going to tell me. What's the best part of working for ECU?
Yeah. I think it really does come down to the people, for sure. I think our people are dedicated and talented and hardworking, and I think we've built some camaraderie and teamwork together. And I think we have sort of a mentality that we'll do whatever it takes to get the job done well for our clients, and we're always putting the clients first and trying to ensure their success. And I think that our team listens to our clients, and then we try to figure out the right strategy, get the right insights from the research, and develop the right creative work to make the client successful. And so I think that as a group, we've worked very cohesively to make that happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what kind of impact do you want to make in your role as a marketing director, and then wearing different hats in your role as a project manager?
Yeah. I really try to lead by example. I think that there's no part of a project that's too big or too small. So I'm not scared at all to get my hands dirty and to do whatever it takes to make sure a project gets accomplished successfully. That doesn't mean I'm afraid to delegate. I think that there are certain members of teams that have strengths and weaknesses, and that we have to make sure that different people work towards their strengths and also build up on the areas that they might not be as strong. But yeah, I try to lead by example, and I think that's kind of my motto in this work as a project manager.
Thank you. And one other question before we close. ECU is very much into community, serving community, helping community, and figuring out how to best be part of the community. Because you are not here with us, it would be great if you tell us a little bit about some of the work that you do in Lincoln, Nebraska, that can help community.
Well, prior to joining ECU, I did do some work in marketing communications for a nonprofit. It's a global tree planting nonprofit called Arbor Day Foundation, and so we did some great work. We used to do some great work around the world, planting trees together with different corporate partners, and so that's an example, I think, of the type of giving back to the community that I've done in the past in Nebraska.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Let's see how we can break that here.
Yes.
I would love to be part of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's all we have today, Joshua. Are there any other final comments or anything else you want to say today while we have you here?
I think that's pretty much all. I think that we've covered a lot of ground today, and appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, Jackie.
Well, thank you so much, Joshua. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And don't forget to follow us on various social media, such as LinkedIn and YouTube. Tune in next time for Get Closer with ECU as we go beyond connected.